Spider-Man 4 has been buzzing quite a bit more recently, and theories of all kinds have got people excited. For example, from the moment No Way Home ended, fans have been itching to see a Tom Holland Spider-Man who is finally fighting on the street level, wearing his low-tech suit and living the hard life of a young guy just trying to pay his bills. At the end of No Way Home, Peter Parker has no family left and his friends and love interests do not recognize him anymore. The world no longer knows his name, and it's likely many of the heroes, except maybe Doctor Strange, won't remember it either. He also lost the high-tech Spider-Man suit that turned him into a more overpowered hero. This is kind of a perfect setup for Marvel to do whatever they want, and it seems they want street-level Spider-Man. The problem is that Sony, who do still have a say in this, don't seem to want street-level Spider-Man. Sony saw that Spider-Man No Way Home was a huge money-making success. They saw that the Spider-Verse movies were also huge successes. Sony has never been one to shy away from a cash grab, and every time it has been hated. Morbius, Madame Web, probably their Kraven the Hunter movie. Sony has been trying to catch the lightning of Spider-Man by shelling out whatever they can that's related to Spider-Man. The money grubbing is still exactly the same for the fourth MCU Spider-Man film. Tom Rothman, chairman of Sony, has said that Spider-Man 4 will be a quote significant event. Sony wants this to be big. They want to go big to try and rake in the money built up by hype. Luckily, Marvel and even Tom Holland, who has much more creative say this time around, seem to be combating them on this, meaning that wherever the film goes, it will likely be a compromise between street level and big event. Now, one theory that I read that appears to be more in line with a Sony big multiverse inclusive event is the appearance of the villain Morlun. Morlun and his family, the Inheritors, are essentially energy vampires that feed on animal totems, people who are basically empowered by animal deities. The main one and their favorites are spider people, but others would include characters like Black Panther, for example. The theory for the film suggests that there will only be 3 Peter Parkers left in the multiverse because Morlun and presumably the Inheritors will have wiped out all the others, conveniently leaving Tom, Toby, and Andrew as the only Spider-Men left in the multiverse. Now, I just want to remind you that a multiverse is technically infinite, just so we're aware. Anyways, as much as I absolutely hate this idea, I do actually like the villain Morlun. I've always found him to be actually kind of terrifying, which would give us a Spider-Man story that would actually lean into horror a little bit more, which could be interesting, but for me personally, I kind of hope this isn't true. Now, if Marvel and Sony were to reach an agreement that got us street-level Spider-Man while also giving us multiverse Spider-Man, one villain may just be the perfect fit, and his name is Mr. Gryphon. Mr. Gryphon is actually a variant of the villain Kang the Conqueror, who operates from his office building in New York City. In the comics, Kang the Conqueror was split into 2 while traveling through the time stream, and one of these halves became trapped in the 21st century, dubbed himself Mr. Gryphon, and became the CEO of Kang Enterprises. That's Kang with an E, not an A. Mr. Gryphon teamed up with the Chitauri warrior Warbringer, the thermodynamic hero turned villain Equinox, and a reprogrammed sinister version of Vision to fight the Avengers. But this theory suggests that instead, Peter actually ends up working for Mr. Gryphon at Kang Enterprises before learning who he is. Now, I'm actually kind of interested in this theory. Mr. Gryphon certainly doesn't have the name appeal of other Spider-Man villains who we still haven't seen yet, but him being Kang the Conqueror would build on what Marvel was already doing, and with him being a New York CEO, it would give us Spider-Man fighting in New York City. But speaking of fighting in New York City, Marvel Studios has been focusing on developing the MCU's street-level corners, with characters such as Echo, Moon Knight, Daredevil, and the Kingpin getting a lot of attention through Phase 4 and 5. Whether it's working alongside Mr. Gryphon or in one of many other storylines, the Kingpin very well might make an appearance in Spider-Man 4. Thanks to the Daredevil Netflix show, Wilson Fisk is already an established threat in the MCU, but hasn't had the chance to show that shine on the big screen, and in a big street level event with him as the main bad guy would absolutely be the way to do it. This movie could even bring in other street level heroes like Daredevil, especially if we went with a story like Devil's Reign. Echo's post-credits scene teased Wilson Fisk's future as the mayor of New York City, which is exactly the scenario for Devil's Reign, as with his power as mayor, he completely outlaws superheroes like Spider-Man and Daredevil. What about a combo where Fisk has outlawed superheroes while Mr. Gryphon is doing some incredibly nefarious stuff, meaning that Peter has to stop Mr. Gryphon while dealing with the fact that he is an outlaw. That would be kinda cool! Another prominent theory surrounding Spider-Man 4 is the introduction of the symbiote into the MCU. With No Way Home, we did actually technically have this, as Sony's Venom, played by Tom Hardy, got stuck in the MCU universe, hanging out on vacation until he was warped back home by Doctor Strange. But Eddie actually left a tiny little portion of his symbiote behind. Now, the newest trailer for Venom: The Last Dance did actually contain a scene that people believe may be the movie's villain capturing that piece of the symbiote, but assuming that's not what's happening, Venom showing up in the MCU would be awesome. I doubt we will see Eddie Brock. It's more likely that we will see Peter having to deal with the symbiote bonding with him, or could we actually maybe see Agent Venom? I know it may be hard to imagine the MCU's version of Flash Thompson as a symbiote-powered super soldier, but crazier things have happened. Marvel has been branching into the multiverse a lot lately. Between Loki, No Way Home, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, that seems to be the theme of the next major phase of the entire Marvel universe. So it only makes sense that having introduced the other big screen versions of Spider-Man, the next logical step would be bringing Miles Morales out of the animated universe and into the live action one. There have been a few hints and Easter eggs surrounding the character for a while now. In Homecoming, we had Uncle Aaron, played by Childish Gambino, and in No Way Home, Electro and Andrew Garfield talk about somewhere in some universe there's probably a black Spider-Man. This would also keep in line with Sony's wish to make this a multiversal event, as having Peter Parker and Miles Morales team up would absolutely sell tickets. And on top of all of that, Tom Holland himself has spoken about not wanting to play Spider-Man forever and how he would want to hand the torch to another. I can't really see a better way to do that than Miles Morales. Maybe one. Now, Miles Morales may be the most obvious choice to pass along the Spidey mantle to, but he's not the only choice. If we're taking Into the Spider-Verse as a potential model, we could be on track not for a new Spider-Man, but a Spider-Woman. Miles Morales is absolutely a fan favorite version of Spider-Man, but another huge fan favorite is Gwen Stacy as Spider-Woman. Now, this could be done in a multiversal kind of way for sure, but we haven't actually seen the MCU's version of Gwen Stacy at all yet. And this can also play into the Venom symbiote. Spider-Gwen, or Ghost Spider, is the Gwen Stacy from the alternate reality of Earth 65. In that reality, it's Gwen Stacy, not Peter Parker, who is bitten by a genetically engineered super spider. However, after she was depowered by Cindy Moon, Ghost Spider bonded with the Venom symbiote, becoming Gwenno, which, after she learned how to control it, gave her all her regular powers, plus obviously some even more awesome Venom ones. What if the MCU made Gwen Stacy Gwenno? I don't have any theories about the rest of the story, but I do think that that would be pretty cool. Now, there are many different Spider-Man characters who have not been featured in live action yet, and one of the villains who has been getting more and more popular recently is Kraven the Hunter. As I said before, Sony is bringing a Kraven the Hunter movie to their weird Sony cinematic universe, and the second Spider-Man video game, which was a recent success, also featured Kraven heavily. Could we maybe get a version of Kraven's Last Hunt in movie form? For any of you who don't know, it's the story where Kraven the Hunter basically wages a war on Spider-Man, eventually actually defeating the hero and putting on his own version of the black suit. That would just be really cool. It would definitely be a high-stakes story. However, that story may be a little bit too morbid for Disney's MCU, and I don't think it's really multiversal enough for Sony's apparent desires either, but I don't know. Now, of all the theories out there, the one that I hope for the most is a Tom Holland Peter Parker that has finally become the street-level, college-attending, rent-missing, down-on-his-luck guy with a chip on his shoulder that everyone loves. I think this movie might, or dare I say should, borrow elements of One More Day, which also followed the erasure of Peter's identity from everyone's minds. That story saw Harry Osborn, Peter Parker's most well-known best friend, come back from years away in a European rehab center, while Peter himself joined the Daily Bugle again and began to work as a paparazzi reporter. It would be a perfect way to bring the MCU's Peter back to the classic Spider-Man we all know and love, not to mention having the Osborn family back in the picture after this Spider-Man has already met a variant of Norman Osborn would be extremely cool. I think there's been something missing from Tom Holland's time as Spider-Man, and it's all of this stuff. The dude's been to space, but he hasn't given J. Jonah Jameson pictures of Spider-Man yet. He's a menace. And with that, my name is Adam Andrews. As always, I will catch you guys on the flippy flop, so stay safe, keep positive, and peace out, nerds. What the